Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm back again with Vince Rinola.
What's going on?
Hey, today we're going to be talking about season one of Andor. Which, first off, I want to say I think this might be my favorite Star Wars series yet. What do you think?
Um, it's really good. I really liked it. I don't know if it's my favorite, but um, I mean, when you compare good things to each other, it's like what's the point? Because they're all good, you know?
Yeah. Um, I actually skipped Obi-Wan because I didn't really hear that many good things about it,
Hmm.
and I wasn't that big of a fan of Boba Fett. Just I don't know, the ending rubbed me the wrong way. And I like The Mandalorian, but I just love this show because it's a lot more darker, I guess.
Yeah.
It's very like much of a political thriller, which is I love shows like that
Hmm.
where like there's a bunch of moving pieces and everybody's plotting stuff.
Hmm.
It's I don't know, it's just really cool. Reminds me of like Game of Thrones or something.
Yeah. I mean, it felt really well made. I could, just watching it, it just feels. I don't know what it was about it. Probably the fact that they used a lot of real locations and kind of added to it instead of completely, creating it out of CG or whatever. But I mean,
Yeah,
it felt super real, and that was a really cool feeling for Star Wars.
felt lot less green screeny, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Um, I don't know. I really liked Diego Luna's performance in this. He did a really good job.
Yeah, he did. He did really good. I mean, standout for me was I think his name was Kino Roy or something. Whoever Andy Serkis played
Yeah,
was great.
I love Andy Serkis. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, he's a really good actor. And yeah, he's still like every scene he was in. That Prison Break episode I think was probably my favorite episode.
So good, so
Yeah,
good. Even the one before that, like the ending, you
yeah,
kind of have this arc of the character when they ask the question, how many guards per level, and he won't answer, and then he finally says there's 12, and it's like, oh, okay, he gets it.
yeah. Um, I just love how like he's been kind of institutionalized, to quote
Yeah,
Shawshank, but then he finally gets the balls to break out. I don't know.
yeah.
Um, it's just yeah, just a great character arc. I love this chemistry with Andor.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if he's actually dead or not, but I kind of want him to be because, like, I'm sick of Star Wars characters coming back to life.
Yeah. I mean, if I were to guess, I would guess that if he did survive in any way, he would have taken over the base, with a couple other guys and or something like that. I don't really know, but
Yeah,
um, because they gotta have ships there somewhere.
yeah. I'm just kind of sick of the fake out deaths.
Yeah. No. I'm with you.
Um, I also really liked Stellan Skarsgård's character, because you never really knew what he was thinking. Like, you never really knew what side he was on.
Yeah, if you could trust him or not. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And just because like I love Stellan Skarsgård, he's a great actor and like all this other stuff. So this show had a lot of that. Well, like I didn't really know anything about it before I watched it. So every time an actor I knew would show up, I'd be like, "Hey, I know that guy from Game of Thrones or something," you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, who else I really liked was Mon Mothma. I think
Yeah.
I
Genevieve
really
O'Reilly
loved
did a
her
really great
scenes.
job. Yeah.
Yeah, because he looks a lot like the lady who played on the original.
Yeah. I personally never thought so, but I don't care either way. But I like everyone's like, man, they look so similar, and I was like, I don't really see it. I mean, they both have red hair, but that's about it to me. But
Yeah,
I mean, nevertheless, though, she plays Mon Mothma like seamless, like like the character of Mon Mothma feels seamless, and it fits well, and it doesn't feel like it's a detour um from what you would expect from her, and but you do get to find out cool things about her, like she's from I think they said it was Chandrila was her home planet, if I remember correctly, and that's like that's like a big banking planet, I believe. If because like I know it was in the Clone Wars, and that's where if you heard of Darth Plagueis.
oh, have you? Yeah, I've heard the tragedy of Dog Plagueis the
Yeah,
Rise.
I believe that Darth Plagueis is actually from that planet as well. Like that's where his species is from. So
Hmm. Yeah, I just loved whole like kind of political maneuvering.
yeah.
I don't know. I just love stuff like that, like kind of espionage. I don't know. I liked her cousin too. I mean, not her cousin was hot, but like not also, other reasons too. Like she was, uh, she was in Game of Thrones, so
Oh
maybe
really?
that's why.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Who else was in Game of Thrones was the head of like that little empire. room where like all the Empire people talk.
Oh
He
yeah.
was in Game of Thrones too. So
Okay, I haven't seen Game of Thrones, so
yeah, I don't know. It's just like cool seeing all those actors I know. But
for sure.
I like the cousin how like she kind of has to pretend to be like part of the system, kind of like a spoiled rich girl, but really she's plotting to overthrow them.
Yeah,
It's cool.
it is cool. I mean, I would I liked. I mean, I don't know. Like all the different plots are pretty cool. I'd say the weakest, in my opinion, the weakest plot was Cyril's plot after episode 3. You know, like after the whole like when Andor and Luthen get away on that speeder. I think that his story got a little boring, but I also kind of like the idea of showing like what's the day in the life of a random person in Star Wars and him with his mom, and it's like I feel like it was intentional, it being a little boring because it's like you kind of learn. It took me like probably 4 or 5 episodes for me to like understand the pacing of the show, and once I got it, I'm like, okay, like this is because I was expecting another show like The Mandalorian. I think that's what everyone was expecting. So
Yeah,
like just the feeling of the Mandalorian that has like that kind of original trilogy, like takes itself seriously but a little can have a little bit of that campiness to it, like kind of feeling.
yeah,
And Andor took it in a completely serious direction, which I'm okay with, but it just took a couple episodes for me to like understand that, and once I did, I really really enjoyed the show. But I was gonna
yeah.
say, like it just makes you realize, like watching this show makes you realize, the whole time, for all the different movies and shows and stuff like that. Besides the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars follows,
That gets dark.
it
Yeah,
can have some arcs that follow some characters that are lesser known. But I was just thinking to myself, like this whole time we've been watching the people who are extremely important to the story of the galaxy, and like in the show we get to see the people, the ground level people,
yeah.
just regular citizens living in the galaxy of Star Wars. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, like I was watching this and I was like, wow, they're actually trying this time.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but what you said about Cyril, um, I think like I love the stuff with him and his mom because you could see she's kind of like a narcissist.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and that's how he was shaped. She shaped him into that because whenever he does well, she's like all proud of him, and then like when he doesn't do well, she's like, oh, you piece of shit. You know.
Yeah, definitely
Um,
setting him up for
yeah,
disaster.
and that contrasts well with Andor and his mom, who was in Harry Potter, by the way.
Hmm.
Uh, she's like a really loving mother, so that shaped him into being a good person, I
Hmm.
guess.
Exactly. No, I mean, I just there's a lot I could say about the show because it was just so. It was a kind of in a way was a breath of fresh air for Star Wars. Like
Yeah, they
there were
needed
some
this.
there were some things that um I was like, that doesn't really feel like Star Wars, but at the same time, like if you think about a galaxy, I mean, there's bound to be, realistic like places out there, that don't have as much money to afford the sleek look that the prequels had, or I guess the original trilogy was just, I don't know how they did it, man, but it was just such a blend of realism but alien. I don't know how they did that,
Yeah,
but I guess the most Earth-like thing in the original trilogy, in my opinion, was Endor. But even then, they put in the Ewok villages and they had all those little Ewoks everywhere, so it made you like, I don't know, man, like they were so clever in like how they utilized Earth-like planets and then made them different enough to be like, oh yeah, this is like not Earth,
yeah, yeah.
but man,
But
I do like this story, like especially like the last episode was just like
oh, I love
such
that
a
last
such
episode.
a
Yeah.
freaking neat bow tie on the story. Like, of course, like they always got to leave those loose ends open, like with Cyril and Dedra, and then
Oh, yeah, that
with
relationship is so uncomfortable. I don't know.
oh, I know, it was weird. And then with Luthen and Andor, like with Andor saying like, kill me. Maybe I didn't understand why, and you could tell me why, but I didn't get why he said kill me. Like, I guess I was watching like one of those explained videos, and like they
I
were
think he was
they
calling
were
out his
gonna
bluff.
were they gonna kill Andor? Was that the whole plan? Was to kill Andor, like those two girls and then Luthen?
I don't know. Like, I don't really know what Luthen's thinking about. Maybe he knows that, like, maybe he's afraid Andor's gonna talk.
Hmm.
But I don't really know what was going on with him.
Got you.
Very
Um,
mysterious. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, but overall, man, like I loved the rebellion scene. Um, at the
Yeah,
end of, I mean, dude, it was such a realistic like town rising up against the the evil, ruler or whatever. Like, it was just so, in my opinion, so well done. Like, when that bomb was thrown, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, it was really, I don't know, reminded me of stuff in real life a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Not that I'm gonna get political on the channel, but uh, I think Disney Plus shows have this theme of running out of steam in the finale. So I was like dreading the finale. I was like, oh, they're gonna do something stupid, something like boring or something like that, and they didn't. And I
Hmm.
was like, really like, it felt like a home run to me, you
Yeah, I
know?
think they stuck the landing on this one, and I think in the same way that they stuck the landing on Mando 1 and 2, I think
Yeah.
both of those shows stuck the landing. Boba Fett, I mean, like, there were some things, yeah, there were
No.
some things that I thought were really cool. Like, there were moments that I thought were like, oh yeah, that's perfect. But I, I feel like in the trailers and in the show, they really built it up to be like this war. They're like, we're going to war, and then it was like this like little town fight. Like, I'd say it was on par with the fight in Andor. But the difference is that Andor didn't say we're going to war, like it's going to be this huge war. Like, no,
Yeah.
it was a town fight, but it felt right at the same time. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I love the shootout with Boba and what's his face, Cad Bane. That was cool.
Well, yeah. I mean, with Andor, I feel like they didn't have to over rely on nostalgia.
Yeah,
Like the only character from the other movies besides Andor is Forrest Whitaker, who's not even like an old character, and Genevieve, Mon Mothma.
yeah. I don't know if you noticed in the ISB scene, it might have been episode 4 or 5 or something like that. But there was Admiral Wolf Yularen. He was actually in he was in A New Hope, and he was also in the Clone Wars, like animated in the Clone Wars and stuff.
Oh,
I mean, it was a different actor playing him, but they said his name, and I was like, oh, that's a cool touch because like, remember the A New Hope? I think it was the first scene on the Death Star, and they're like all sitting around that conference table, and Vader like chokes the guy, and he's like, "I find you're like a bit
yeah.
disturbing."
It was that guy.
There's a guy sitting at the table with a white. He's the only one with like the white Imperial cloak or whatever you want to call it on. And then, like, later in the comics and all that, they explain that it means they're part of the ISB, which is the Imperial Security Bureau, and then they built that up. And then, like, Director Krennic wore the white one because he was a part of all that stuff. And so they, then in this one, the fact that they showed the whole entire ISB, everyone in that room you were talking about, on Coruscant with Dedra and the guy from Game of Thrones, they're all wearing white because they're all a part of the ISB. And I was like, oh, like, I wonder if we're gonna see the guy from A New Hope, because he was like, in canon, or like in the order of movies that they were being made, he was the first one to wear white.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool that they showed him, and he had a moment to address everything. I had a weird feeling because Palpatine got name dropped. I was like, are we going to see him in the Senate? And we didn't. And I didn't really care. Like, it wasn't a make or break for me, but I thought it would have been kind of cool to see him in the Senate.
I don't know. I kind of like how the show stands apart. Like I said, like the only characters in it are people nobody gives a fuck about. Like that one guy from New Hope who had like two lines.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like it really stood on its own, and
Yeah,
I like that. I think Star Wars should keep doing that. Like they don't have to tread the same like 20 characters over and over again. They could just they could do new stuff.
for
Like
sure. But I mean, at the same time, if Palpatine was in the show, that wouldn't be out of place. You know what I mean?
that's true.
Because
I
it,
I mean I do love Ian McDormand.
yeah, and anything with him, bro, I'm always happy to see him. Like, and I know they have like this. There's a bad, what you call it, a bad connotation with fan service or whatever. But I don't think it's a bad thing all the time. Like, I
As long as it
truly,
makes sense.
yeah, if it makes sense. Like, of course, there's overutilizing, but at the same time, like, dude, Star Wars at the end of the day, like, it kind of it kind of just is in general fan service. Like, it's just it's a franchise that aims to please the audience.
Yeah. I just feel like a lot of times, especially in like Boba Fett, they I don't know, they put it over trying to tell a good story.
Yeah, I mean, the Luke Skywalker thing kind of felt out of place, but at the same time, like, I'm glad we got it, because it felt right to the story of Star Wars. It didn't feel out of place.
Yeah.
Just in
Um
Boba's show, it's like, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I don't like the whole Grogu coming back, but we already talked about that.
We did. I really
But
do think, man, they'd be better off making, instead of making character shows, they'd be better off making like an overarching title, like like Rebels or Clone Wars or whatever, and
Yeah.
then being able to hop, but kind of like Andor does, except like it's named Andor. Like I'm just saying, like make a show called Star Wars something, and then be able to hop between 4 or 5 different main characters, so you could tell
Yeah.
different stories throughout the season instead of having to stick with one character.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, overall, I don't know. I love the slow paced plot. It reminds me of like an HBO show or something.
Hmm.
Like I don't know. That's a TV I really gravitate towards. Like just a very slow building. Everybody's plotting something.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's why I liked Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul a lot. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I can't wait for season 2. I think
yeah,
that's coming out in 2 years.
yeah. I think they're just starting filming now, and it'll come out in about 2 years.
Yeah. And I like how next season's going to be the last season
Hmm.
because like it kind of it kind of has to end at some point
Yeah,
because it can't go on forever because then it'll get boring and he has to die eventually.
yeah.
So I'm glad they're not like stretching it out too long. Um, I don't know. I like shows with set schedules. Like we're gonna be, they say from the beginning, oh, we're gonna do this amount of seasons.
Yeah, they have a story to tell, and they tell it, and then that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
I'm with you.
yeah. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of nervous about the Mandalorian because like they're like, oh yeah, we're making season 3 and 4. Like they just keep adding to it. I don't know if they have enough
I
of a
think
plan.
the plan from the beginning was to make 4 seasons. So,
Oh, okay,
um, you
that's
know,
good.
and I think I would be willing to say they're probably going to make a crossover movie with all of them. I think that'd be so cool to like see the Mandalorian in like an actual film would be pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe they could sneak in Andor's ashes. Like from that planet he blew up on. I'll just put him in now. I don't know.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
God.
So do you have anything else to say about Andor?
No, man, I love the show. I'd give it an A+. Honestly, like it was really well made, extremely well directed, really well
Yeah.
written. It's a good story. Um, sometimes you watch a show and you're like, man, this really needs an important character to really make it, stand out or to make it better. And like, I never had that feeling during the show. Like, I was like, I thought to myself it'd be cool to see Palpatine, but I didn't feel like I needed to at all.
Yeah. A lot of shows I'm like, I would have done this differently. I would have done this differently. But with this show, it's like I'm really struggling to think. Maybe a couple less episodes in the beginning.
That's what I was gonna say. I would say, I mean,
Yeah.
the only criticism or change that I would make would be like one less episode and just kind of tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Because I feel like a lot of the like full staff of the season felt a little fillery.
Yeah.
But
But it paid off,
overall,
man. It paid off because you care about the characters a lot more at the end.
yeah, just very well written, well acted, well directed. Yeah, it didn't seem as much green screeny as usual. So
Yeah, that was really cool. I mean, it felt so real, and I was like, that. It kind of has that OT feeling now with that, because the original trilogy had to be filmed on real sets too.
yeah,
So it felt tangible and real, and that was cool.
yeah. So yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And everybody, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and let me know what you guys thought about Andor season 1. And until next time, peace.